Now, the next thing, well, what you can do, you have to have is get it as close as possible. So all you have to do is position yourself in the middle.
So it's putting forward so that way I don't
Yeah.
shut it down.
And then I got all discombobulated watching those confirmation kids today. Because you can tell I just get emotional about watching them. So we're going to be talking a lot today about the future, some of the things that are going on. But to me, it's those kids that are the future. So Boo and I were talking about this. It's been a year since John retired. It's been 7 months that we've been out of our building. And here we are, and confidence about what's happening. And with those words, I want to invite Brent. You've had some hints of this, but we haven't really talked about it. Since before I came on the council, there's been conversations about needing to update our bylaws. That I hear laughter over here. So now, after all these years of conversation, we're actually doing something about it, and we have a task force that's working on it, and Brent is going to come and talk to you about that.
Thank you, Jan. Yes, as Jan mentioned, we have formed a task force to look at revising the bylaws, and the task force members, closer still, tilted, okay. Excuse me. The task force members, that sounds better, are Keith Richardson, Doug Holsether, Valerie Colauder, and myself. And we began meeting in August, so things are moving fairly quickly. The goals that we have are to ensure that the bylaws reflect how we actually operate and how we actually do things, and also to address any known areas of deficiency or opportunities for improvement that are brought to our attention. So far, in our still draft working document, the areas of greatest change are the following. We have added language that gives theological ecclesiological, and denominational grounding. We have increased the emphasis on lay ministry and are proposing the creation of a diaconate. A diaconate is a team of deacons, and we are envisioning that there will be a team of deacons who attends to various ministries of our church, separate and apart from the council, as opposed to all deacons as it currently stands, who are serving as members of the council. We have identified some different standing committees than what's currently in the bylaws to improve governance practices. And we're proposing clarification of legal responsibilities and limitations. And we are including language around indemnification under Tennessee state law. The next steps is that we'll receive questions and input from the church council, and we'll address that. And then from there, turn around and provide a clean version, if you will, to COS members for membership to review and have some time to reflect on it. And then after church, likely after a service on a Sunday, we'll have a listening session and an opportunity to discuss your questions and to answer your questions. And then ultimately, likely in November, they'll at a called congregational meeting, and with appropriate advance notice and so forth, the membership will be asked to vote on adopting the revised bylaws. So that is the brief update from the task force. And ask, maybe if there's a question or two, I could field that and provide a response. All right.
I want to say that this task force has put in an amazing amount of work in a few short weeks to come up with the draft that they have. And honestly, all of this, you'll see this in our agenda today. We have so many people in this church who are putting many, many hours of volunteer time. And that is what's keeping us alive and vibrant, and I'm extremely grateful for that. It makes it easy to be the moderator because everybody steps up. So next we're going to hear from the Finance Committee about our 2026 budget, and Mary Ann is going to come and talk to us about that.
While Frank and Karen hand out the budget, the draft budget, I have a question. Does anybody own this packet? After a listening session, I took it home thinking with great confidence it belonged to Tom Mercier. It was left on a chair, and he was coming to my house the next night, so I took it home. It's not his. I had it since June in my closet. It belongs to some man in our congregation. It doesn't fit my husband, so we here will bring out every Sunday. The right guy will come by and get it. It belongs to somebody here. And I apologize for keeping it in the back of my car for a couple of months. I'm your treasurer. My name is Mary Ann Cunningham. I'm happy to be here to do this job. To remind those who have been here with me for the last 11 years doing this, and for those of you who are new, I'll tell you a little bit about the process we go through. In August, I asked the council to think about next year what they might need to cover the kinds of things they do for the congregation. Tanya and I talk about religious education and her youth budget. I look at expenses that we've had this year so far and what transpired the rest of the months from the previous year, and I put together a budget. This year's been a little different. We've been out of the building. I look at last year's budget. We thought we would be back in the building. In mid-year, we thought we might have a new minister mid-year. So 2025 budget really isn't a typical budget for us. So I used the 24 budget, did a little guessing. It's all a lot of little guessing. Put together a budget, met with the finance committee. I thank the finance committee. Right now, our committee is made up of Jackie White, who is our financial secretary. Shay Boswell and Mike Marsh are members at large, and myself. We met. Jackie was on vacation, so she met in spirit. And Shay and Mike and I met. They looked at the budget I recommended. We made some changes. We presented to the council. They made some changes. So this is the third version of the budget you're looking at, and it is a draft. We'll talk about it today. I'll present it. Then I'll take questions at the end, and then we'll think about it for a while. And in 2 weeks, after church, we'll meet in the library or the choir room, and I'll entertain any questions that you have. We'll go over all of the assumptions I've made. I think in the 11 years I've done this, except maybe that first year, there are more moving parts and unknowns in this budget than any I've done before. Because we don't have a new minister yet. We don't know what he and she is going to expect in a salary. The search committee has made a recommendation for a salary. We don't know what our mortgage will be yet. We have an idea. This is the high, hopefully the high estimate. And we don't know what our property insurance will be yet. We've made an estimate. So there are some estimates here that we hope that we will be able to firm up before we have to vote on this budget in December. So let me go through it with you and tell you how I came up with these numbers, and then I'll take your questions. And to give you some assurance, at the bottom is our bank accounts. So you know where we stand financially. We're in good financial standing. These are the balances of our bank accounts and our capital campaign accounts as of the end of August. So I like to start with expenses. And I'm sorry the type is a little small for those of us who are getting on in years. So wages, and also the way this is set up is you're looking at the 25 approved budget in that first column. And again, this is for a year where we expected to have a minister join us halfway through the year, and we expected to be out of the building for 6 months. So the numbers are kind of odd to compare. The proposed budget assumes that we'll have a full-time minister to join Tanya in January, and we'll be in the building in January. Those are the assumptions that we made. So in looking at expenses, the wages include two full-time clergy, and we've added a 2.5% cost of living wage for all current staff, Tanya, and the 5 part-time staff that we have currently. And the search committee has asked for about $100,000 package for our new minister. And that includes housing, insurance, and pension. We offer 14% pension for all the clergy, and we always have. When you look at other work costs, that includes the pastor's insurance, our associate pastor's insurance. And let me just say about insurance, there are 72 insurance plans that we can offer our clergy. We have no idea what our clergy is going to want because it's based on, is it a solo person? Is it a solo person with a spouse? Is it a solo person with a spouse and children? Is it a solo person with just children? So we just put in what we offer Tanya, and that person can compensate, add to that as he wishes or she wishes as a payroll deduction. So we have insurance for both clergy. There is moving cost added for our senior pastor as a one-time cost. We have pulpit supply. We typically have this amount of money added for pulpit supplies so our pastors can go on vacation and be out of the office. We will not have a transitional pastor here if we have a both full-time clergy with us, so that expense will not be included in next year's budget. Valerie will not be with us next year. We have professional expenses. Continuing education is offered for both clergy and for Carol, our minister of music, or whatever, I guess she's a music director. There is music supply for all of our professional musicians who come in and supplement our current choir and Carol. And then, of course, there's Social Security and Medicare for all of our staff. Then we get to property. Now, we have a big, beautiful building, which we hope will not need any repair. But we have that nice, beautiful, ancient building for offices, which will need repair. So we have a placeholder for repair. We hope it will only be $5,000. There's utilities. We have a building that's bigger. So I talked to Wayne, asked him how much bigger, added 30%, figured KUB is probably going to go up, added another 3%. So who knows? If I'm close, I'm hoping I'm right. We have pest control, we have janitorial supplies. Property insurance is a guess. The value of our property will dramatically increase with this big, beautiful building we have, so our property insurance is going to go up. We probably won't know that until January. And then we have our grounds care and our mowing contract increased. So that went up. Then you have office supplies and all those online subscriptions we have for Zoom and streaming, and we have photocopying and our bookkeeper. That's all under office. And then we have program. We have worship and music. That's the music that Carol needs to buy for choir, as opposed to music supply, which is when musicians come in and perform here. Religious education materials, youth materials. We are committed to have a budget line for youth so they don't have to raise their own money for their own activities alone. Justice has a line. Pride has a line. We want to get more involved in pride activities in the community. So Tanya asked if we could increase that and have its own distinct line in the budget. It used to be part of justice. We wanted to split that out this year. The library, we're back in our building. We'll need to take care of the library. Congregational care, hospitality, community activities for community building, and stewardship. So those are our program activities. And then under other, which is sort of a combination of community, visibility, and denominational. And I don't know why we put music repair there, but we have another piano that's been donated. So we have another piano to tune. And then we contribute to the conference regularly. We go to conference meetings. And then we have a variety of community organizations that we sponsor and we have memberships in, as you can see. And then we have a mortgage. I'm going to skip that right now. We'll come back to the mortgage. It's a big one. So let's finish that while we all take a very deep breath. We have banking charges for people who do online banking. There's advertising, and then the council has a budget. So it's a very big budget. It's a lot bigger than it has been ever before, because we have a minister's salary we haven't had to pay for a year, and we haven't had a mortgage in several years. So let's talk about that mortgage. We've been talking about this mortgage for a while, and we have right now a capital campaign, as you know. And if COVID hadn't happened, we would have had this building a long time ago at a much cheaper cost, but COVID happened. And this is one of those things that is a calamity as a result of COVID. Prices went up. Prices went up, and we are having to deal with that. And so not all of our pledges are in from the capital campaign. They will continue to come in And so we will use that money coming in as part of the payment for our mortgage. So the budget, our ongoing budget will pay for a piece of the mortgage and it will be supplemented by people's ongoing contributions to the capital campaign. So if we didn't have those contributions from the capital campaign, that mortgage payment would be about $6,000 a year. I'm sorry, I wish, a month. Because we're looking at going with, if we do this, we'll go back with the Cornerstone Foundation, which is the group that we've always had our mortgage with. It's the bank for our denomination. We've used them since the very beginning of this church building back in the 70s. And right now the going rate is about 8.25%. We renegotiate that rate every 5 years. Rates are high right now. Churches are not a good risk. So church rates, commercial rates are high. So it's a very high mortgage rate. We're looking at other institutions for lower rates. We're continuing to look. We have an $800,000 construction loan that we haven't tapped into yet. We haven't needed to, but we assume we will have to use at least most of it. So depending on how much comes in to the capital campaign before we finish building, and we use whatever we use in that line of credit, that construction line of credit, that's the amount that we will have for our mortgage. But we're not sure what that will be yet because people are paying their capital campaign contributions early. So we may not need all $800,000. We'll have to wait and see. So it may not be an $800,000 mortgage. It may be a little less, which means the monthly payment will be lower. So this is where I'm going to ask that we just need a little time to see what's going to happen. We don't vote on this budget until December, so the mortgage may be smaller. We have to see. There are other options. You're going to get an email in the next couple of days. We've been kicking around the idea of becoming our own mortgage holders, where we would invest. I'm not asking about donations. I'm thinking of investing and becoming a group of mortgage holders, where we would have a third party draw up paperwork and we would invest as mortgage holders, receiving principal and interest payments and getting a nice return on the investment, not 8%, but maybe 6%, and holding the mortgage for the church. So we'll send out information and we'll have an information meeting next week. And this would bring our mortgage payment down quite a bit. People have self-mortgaged. Jan said they did that for a camp. The co-op did this in town. And so we can think about perhaps doing this ourselves, holding our own mortgage as a group of mortgage investors and not dealing with a bank. That's another possibility. Third possibility is we are about to become the beneficiaries of Kim Morris's estate, and her house is selling on Friday. We hope. And so we will come into what could be a very nice amount of money in January. Martha's saying that because she's the executor of the estate. That could, right. So that could dramatically decrease the amount of the mortgage. So this is what I'm saying. This is the first time in 11 years that I've done this. There are so many unknowns to this budget. But what I think I can say is this is as big as it's going to be, but I think it will be somewhat smaller. So to say all of that, to get to this amount of expense, to cover this expense, if you go up to the top, typically we have building rental income that comes in because people use our building and they pay to use our building. And we have a fundraiser. And we have people who are not our pledgers, but they're regular givers. And Jackie knows who they are because they write a check or they give through Vanco. We call those people our non-pledged people because she can give them quarterly statements. And that's just how we have identified that income. Given all of that, somewhat known income, the rest of us, that is up to the rest of us as pledges. And the pledging income this year would need to be 18% higher than it is this year or next year, which is a lot more than we've ever brought in before. So, as I told a friend of mine, I'm glad that they weren't handing out tomatoes today, because this isn't the best news I've ever given, but this is a draft. And so I'm happy to entertain questions. Yes, John? Yes, it's a calendar. The budget is a calendar year. Thank you for the easy question. Anybody else? Yes.
I was thinking, well, if we could pay on our campaign, capital campaign money ahead instead of over the 5 years, it would help the church save money. But if we're going to do a mortgage investment group on our own, isn't it better not to do that?
The question is, you want to pay your capital campaign early, but if we're going to invest in the mortgage, is it better to wait? Actually, as if we can have the smallest mortgage possible, would be the best option. So if people can pay their capital campaign contribution early, will allow us to have the smallest mortgage. I actually ran those numbers last night to see, and yes, the smallest mortgage we can have, regardless of whether we go to a bank or whether we are our own investors, will be the best option for the church. Jay?
What you're saying, you have a choice between paying off your capital campaign early or being an investor. You
Yeah.
should choose A.
Yes. Yes, Frank?
Clarification, that is not the same thing, because if you're part of the mortgage, you get that money back within.
Right. It may not be the best thing for you for you, your personal investment, but it's the best thing for the church. Yeah.
Well, it's not exclusive. I mean, ideally, something, if you made a pledge for the capital campaign, you're going to pay that, but we're also hoping, that those people and others could do an investment too. So
Right.
those are really kind of distinct things in that.
Right. This is a really good investment option. This is a very, yeah. Dave, you want to come up and explain that? Well, come on, you do a better job than I will do explaining that.
I'll give it a shot. I wasn't prepared to talk about anything. So, I'll like just defer. This is Mike Marsh is the one who came up with this, not me. So I don't want to like misspeak for what he's put together. But the idea is, if the congregation, if there's enough people who have some cash available, can literally lend to the church, will be one big mortgage, and there's a group of people who are lending. That will be instead of financing through a bank. So the idea would be, it would be lower interest rate, which saves the church a bunch of money. And the people who can do the investing, the lending, are actually going to get a really nice return, better than you would in a checking or savings account or a money market account or something like that. And it's secured by the church property. So it's a very secure loan, but you have to recognize it's a loan for, 4, 5, 6 years. But that's sort of high level. That's the concept of what we're trying to do here. So that's separate from the capital campaign. This is really figuring out a way to borrow, for the church to borrow, that doesn't have to go through a bank or a traditional lender. So that's the short answer.
And it's an investment. It is not a donation.
Yes.
And you'll get a letter in a couple of days that explains all the details. And it's just an option we can consider as a way to avoid the bank. And it's just, and it's not just for us. It can be for your kids. It can be for your well-trusted neighbors, friends of our congregation. If there are people who are interested in unique and wonderful investment opportunities who are like-minded with us. It could be a way that we can avoid a lot. It would save us $10,000 a year in interest. And that's a nice way to cut off some of that money we need to raise. Wayne.
Just to let you know that we considered this at the last church when we built the building, but we didn't have the wherewithal within the congregation to come up with that kind of fund. But in doing the research, we discovered in many churches that have done this, that the people write off that loan and don't expect it to be repaid. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that, but some people are willing to do that, and maybe that would be the case here. And, just kind of keep that in mind, that's a possibility. If you really feel like you just want to give that money to the church, I'm sure we'll take it.
But that's not our intent. That's not the initial, that's not the, yeah.
Really emphasize over and over, this is, if we go this route, this is designed as an investment. This is not a donation.
Right.
You can write it off then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you wanted
That would
to,
be
right.
very nice.
And it would be monthly income. You would get a piece of, like you bought your mortgage, like you write a mortgage payment. The payment would be written to you by a third party in Chattanooga, actually. It's a guy in Chattanooga who's a fiscal entity, would write you a check or a ACH every month with a piece of principal and a piece of interest. And when the interest rates come down, which we hope they will eventually, you would get a balloon payment and we would go to a commercial bank. So it's not forever. It's a bridge loan until interest rates come down to something more manageable for us.
Can you publish these ideas? Can you send down an email?
Yeah, we're sending out an email in a couple of days. This was just an idea. So we do have plans to try to bring down this budget. Martha. It's part of wages. It's in that wage line in the total.
Well, anyway, I didn't see any, I didn't see one in there.
It's just bundled up under wages. All the wages are included together.
So that is, this is, okay, that's in not a some of this, but it's an addition. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Yes, Mary? Right, it's either all or nothing. Yes. We want to be first. We don't want to be behind the bank, because if something happened, the bank gets it all, we don't get anything. So it's either all or nothing. But we'll have more to talk. We'll send out an email early this week, and then we'll meet next week after church and talk further about it. And there's no pressure. If you're interested, great. If we're not, we'll just do something different, and we'll just go back to the bank. They're hoping. They're waiting. Okay. I'm going to get the hook. I can feel Karen with the hook in her hand. Thank you very much. Thanks.
I thought you'd be happy to get the hook. I'm Karen Nickel. I'm part of the Capital Campaign Committee, and since she brought it up, I just wanted to update you on the Capital Campaign. We have, as a reminder, we have $1.8 million, a little bit more, pledged. And we've received $1,553,000. Thank you very much. So we have nearly $260,000 in pledges yet to be received. So if those remaining pledges, I want to just reiterate what Marianne said. If those remaining pledges can be fulfilled before we need to establish a mortgage, it will help reduce our mortgage amount. So if you have a way to fulfill your pledge sooner, that will help lower our mortgage. And also, if you have not pledged, please consider pledging, and you can send your pledge amount to Nancy Best at the office. You can either call her or email her, and just make sure on any payment that in the memo it says that it's for the capital campaign. Yes. Well, yeah, now, I don't know when it's, before we start the mortgage, so that we know how much mortgage we need to establish, so.
December 1st, by December 1st, maybe.
Okay, by December 1st, John. Here, Boo made that up. December 1st, get your pledges in by December 1st if you can. Thank you.
Again, I just want to thank everybody who's been working so hard on this and trying to figure out a way to make it the best for us that it can be. So thank you all. And now we're going to have a report from the search committee. Boo first and then Rhonda.
I'm jumping Rhonda's play a little bit because I'm going to brag on the committee a minute, and I was scared Rhonda wouldn't brag on herself. I wasn't really supposed to be on the profile committee, but I've ended up on it, and I need to say what an amazing task it has been to watch this thing. If you can imagine a water hose of information coming at a group of people about this congregation, and these folks have managed to take the water hose of data and funnel it into an online profile. It's been amazing to watch. And I just sort of wanted to brag. There's all kinds of people doing things, but in the group, what I've learned is, okay, Shay and Rosemary, technical advice and assistance. I mean, anyway, bringing to the rest of us the ability to get into the profile online. It's been amazing. And I would say just sort of friendly pushers, if you will, of the process. And then there's Pat Chastain. Pat doesn't necessarily know the technology, but Pat knows everything else. And she's kind of our wise one and knows people and knows COS and has helped have a lot, bring writing, but also laughter to the group. Pam Hindle has kind of, and y'all won't be surprised at this, sort of raised herself up as our spiritual leader in some ways, our voice of reason and compassion. We can always count on that. Keith Richardson is part of this group. He's just a lovely human being, and he knows COS. He gets his work done by the date he said he was going to do it, and he's just been such a great person to work with. And then there's Jay McMahon, who is kind of quiet and is a listener, but he's been our scribe. And then the other thing I've come to appreciate about Jay is that he'll just very quietly move the meeting forward when one of us gets on a tangent. And then our leaders, Valerie has led us and connected us to the UCC, but our internal leaders, Janet Junklaus, is really a busy person, but brings this expertise around HR to the table with us, been a good connector. I've watched her watch conversations happen and then connect with people behind the scenes. And then if I could just say that our leader, Rhonda, oh my goodness. What an amazing leader Rhonda has been for this group, helping us stay on task. She's always ahead of us a little bit, knows where we're heading, drills down on the task, and also is just a friendly pusher of the agenda. So I just wanted y'all to know this has been an amazing experience to watch this group of people take a huge amount of information and turn it into a profile that is very close to being put up, but I'm not going to give the report because that job is Rhonda's, but I just wanted y'all to thank your profile team.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. I'm Rhonda Melton, co-chair of the profile team, which is half of the search committee. The other half is the interview team, and I'm here to update you on where we are. I think most of you know by now that we're working on actually 2 different profiles. One is required by the UCC, that's the electronic profile that Boo is talking about. And then we also have something that we just chose to do, which is a marketing profile that really we're just trying to be more creative and showcase the church to any potential candidates. We've included information from the listening sessions, the surveys, the talks on the covenants in both profiles. And we're currently putting the final touches on the electronic profile that Boo was talking about. And we expect to submit it to the UCC within the next couple of weeks. Once that happens, it will be out there for applicants to apply, and it should pop to the top. That's what we've been told. It will be the first one that anyone sees because it's the newest. Also, on the marketing profile, you may have seen, I don't know, Shay, have you been doing videos today?
Actually, 5 minutes.
Okay, we're doing videos for the marketing profile. We've done a lot of write-ups on that. So the marketing profile isn't far behind. So we're really excited about all this and it's getting really close.
Last on the program, I'm just gonna say, a reminder, and just so you know, in the fall, football and Justice Knox starts, so it's a reminder on orange. So just put this on your calendar, and if you still do this kind of calendar, we can provide that too. Seriously, take out your phone, put it on your calendar, so nothing. 100% of our every person business as BMI action in. Okay, last but not least, we're going to hear from the building team. I think Frank is going to come and talk to you about that.
Okay, the good news is we are still pretty much on track. They estimate that we will be not in the building. They will hand us the keys. We'll do what's called room clean with the certificate of occupancy by the end of the year. That's December 30th. Started out, I think November 20th something, but because of weather delays and sub issues, that pushed it over. It's been going back and forth a week or two, both directions. But we are still very happy with Hickory. Doing a wonderful job. We say we're happy with our architect, way understated. Lee England has been incredible. He's the person we turn to when we're kind of wondering what's going on. Are we comfortable with this or not? He's been an advocate for us. When we've had discussions and worried about something, he's the one who speaks up about it. He's our advocate, basically. So it's going really well. Good news. Bad news is, apparently when I was out of town, there was a serious rainstorm here with heavy, heavy winds that came from the west to the east. And there was a lot of water intrusion into the choir room, which went down to the ceiling, which went down into the nursery. And every problem we've had since I started here relates to water. Anyway, Hickory is evaluating it now. We think we're going to use them to make the repairs. This will not be part of the mortgage. Another expense in the church. Yes. But it's got to be done. There's no way around it. The good news on the earlier leak, a month before, which was in the skylight, is that cost ended up being a lot less than we thought it was going to be. So it is what it is. We'll make it work. Now, I know a lot of people really want to know what's going on more intimately. They want to look at things. There have been some people who, and we don't know who they are. They don't know when these folks show up, but please don't go by the building. Don't try to get in there. I know you want to see it, but Hickory has insurance. It could cause them problems. It could cause delays if somebody got hurt. They are going to arrange, and we'll have this set up apparently in October, visits, probably 2 or 3 total group visits with 10 people max. And Chris Kilpatrick is the supervisor who is on site every single day. We'll get information out to you where you can sign up for one of these, and he will walk you through, and you can see and ask any questions and whatnot. but at least be very respectful of them and the work we're doing. It is a construction zone. Beyond that, are there any questions that I can answer? Yes.
The damage you described, our insurance won't pay for it.
We don't know. But that, they might on that, they did not on the skylight because it wasn't damaged, it was just degradation. It's probably a little bit of both. I don't know how bad the winds were. I think, and I could be wrong, if something like this happens, insurance companies look to see if there were other claims in the area. If there weren't, it's just a regular weather event, it's not going to be covered.
There were 60-mile-an-hour winds in that storm.
Hmm.
There were 60-mile-an-hour winds in that storm.
That's the hope. And we're not sure if they're coming in from the gutter and then down the wall again, or there's air conditioner units in the choir room, maybe coming in there. We don't know. They're going to break into the walls and see what they can find. So it's up in the air right now. Any other questions?
It won't be till the end of October that they're doing visitation.
Right, it'll be the end of October. We'll get that information out. And if you have any questions in the meantime, just holler at any of them in the building committee. Karen, Wayne, Melissa, who was done the heavy lifting, really, she couldn't be here today. She's one of the important person on all of this. Okay, anything else?
I just want to thank all of you for being here today and listening to all of this. I hope it was enlightening and encouraging. And again, I just want to thank all of for us. When we're finished, we will need some help putting everything back. But are there any other questions?
I'm going to put a couple of these Lysol wipes on each table. If it's empty at the moment, wipe that off, put that in, and then we're going to need 2 people up there.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about that we have not? Okay, then I'm going to invite Tanya up here to do our closing. I don't know. Here she is.
Y'all are probably sick of me saying prayers, but let's do one more. One more. Holy One, we are so grateful for each other and for you and your guidance. We are grateful for all the people who have put all this work in, and we are excited